Always, even though you're finding out the types, that you also know the origins. When I talk to somebody, again, I'm always going to put this in the context of a conversation, not a debate, a conversation. If I'm talking to someone on a train or on an airplane, or a family member who I disagree with on something, who has a different worldview than me, or in college, a professor or a colleague or friend at the pub, whatever it might be that you'll be seeing at some point in your life, knowing, well, where is that person coming from? What is it that they find? And to ask questions of that person in order to find the origins of that knowledge inquiry, and also the origins of their conversations themselves. So a lot of these types, application, origins, the Tao, is a way of presenting and receiving information from others. Okay, how am I going to categorize? How am I going to apply? And where is all this coming from? And I think you can hear in my tone, perhaps, the derivative of all this, which is empathy, to value other people and their minds, and not think that I'm superior to them, even though I can think like this, and they can't, perhaps, or haven't thought as much about it. It's a humbling thing, once again, to know TOK should be to know your own inadequacies, to know where you need to learn from others, and where you need to value the knowledge that you can get from others. So questions aren't just a means to an end, they're a means to your own journey. You speak to others and you ask them questions because you're trying to learn from them. Even if you disagree with some of the things they're saying, you can learn from it. Okay? So there's empathy involved. Ground rules for questioning, and this kind of goes then, if we're talking about empathy, we do need to talk about how it will look in our classroom. When we talk to each other, it won't look like a debate. It's certainly not a fake sort of televised system of debate in which people are trying to cut each other off to seem confident or whatever. We also don't want to limit the amount of questions that we offer to one another in a way that is so narrow that they can't respond to without hurting your feelings. You hear a lot of times you'll see in English debates. I remember way back when we had a Socratic seminar, which really was just this open-ended thing when I was in English 10. And it was so open-ended because the teacher said, okay, what are all the controversial things that you want to talk about? Abortion, boom, we just threw that out there. Every little thing that anyone thought was controversial, so that we could have this like riled up conversation, just because it was riled up. And people started crying and going out of the classroom because no one knew the rules or the ground rules of actually talking to each other, and it just became this terrible thing. People were upset because they had, my aunt had an abortion or something like that, and all of a sudden, the conversation was totally not in a correct context. There's no moderation. There was no empathy. So I want to avoid that. So I want to say real quick, this is not a debate class. It's not a rhetoric class. We're not attempting to destroy our enemies. We're not trying to win our case. I'm not using, what did you say?
What about the space dragon? That's used to destroy my enemies.
The space dragon? Where's the space dragon? Oh, right here? Wait. I need to put on my glasses here. What is that? I don't even remember putting that up. I'm sure it was just a student who was like, Mr. Morris, I bet I do. Thanks. I'll put it on my wall.
It was from the first presentation.
Oh, no, you're right. It was one of you guys that drew that. Oh! Wow, great job, Ken. Where? Did you attach it to the wall yourself then, or no? Did I do it? Did you do that? Did you put it up?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. I don't remember putting that up. Ken was like, good job. Good job, Ken. That's right. Well,
Our
fair enough. Space Dragon.
to climb under our desks and start doing like
Oh,
the climb over the cave.
That's the case. Like, stop it. Like I was saying, you're not meant to destroy enemies. Number one question that, when you hear the phrase, and I don't want you to avoid it like the plague, I don't know how anyone can believe blank. It's usually the thing that starts with, I don't know how anyone can believe that. And then they'll say whatever it is. And isn't that just looking for a fight? And also too, it starts with a really telling phrase in the beginning, which is what? Well, I don't know. You don't know. You're right, you don't know. You might need to learn a little bit. So that's a good place to start. I don't know how anyone can do that. Well, why don't you learn how people can believe that thing is different? Exactly, they're being rude. So don't be rude. Okay, don't be a jerk. We are learning, discussing, evaluating with critical yet compassionate empathy. So those are that concept there. Empathy, know what that word is. It's a cool word. Discussion will be moderated. So I'll be, stopping things or moving things along as I need to. I'll try and do equal time. This doesn't always work. Even in our conversation, you might have noticed when I started here and then we tangent, and then I'm like, okay, the rest of you, would you like to? So I'll try to be fair over time with everyone getting in their views and things. But when we do Socratic seminars, that'll definitely be equal time to things as much as possible. So you'll be doing time balance and constraints, but you will be doing how effective you are in Socratic seminars will be based on how much of your homework you have done. If you don't know the thing, then you're not going to be able to speak up as quickly or as effectively as others, and you might be left behind. And that's not anyone's fault if you don't know what we're talking about, or you don't know how to go about the concept or the question appropriately. I might even cut you off. So, okay, so hold on a second. Let's rework this because you don't know what you're doing, kind of thing. And I'll say it not so harshly, but sometimes I will. Especially at the end of the year when you're doing your internal assessments and you're standing up here and you're trying to teach me. How dare you try and teach me and you haven't done your work? So that's kind of how the tact I'll take, because I'm trying to push at the end. And you can ask them how much I was doing that. And I'll probably do it even more harshly every year because we'll get more confident with our process. We'll talk about what knowledge is, different definitions of knowledge tomorrow. I don't want to go too much into it. But no, it has something to do with what Esme was talking about, something to do with Plato. We'll look at these 3 problems of knowledge. Consider them tomorrow as your sort of beginning discussion. These, I need to still invite you to the drop-off, so I will do that. Right now, your biggest focus, if you're just looking for, hey, how am I staying on task? You want to make sure you just get your page of notes from class by the end, by tomorrow. And also the back side of that page, or another separate page of typed notes from your few pages of reading from the book. You need to become an expert in your section of the book that your team was assigned yesterday. There's a book. It's called. I know that some of you might have tried to get the book and there might not have been enough. I need to contact Ms. Lopez and see if they can get all the seniors to turn those back in. All right, guys. Sorry to keep you a little longer than usual.
Thank you.
Good conversation. I'm really impressed. Oh, yeah.
We're all just super deep wars. Super deep.
How metaphysical? We will, we'll talk about the concepts of like mind and soul and the objectiveness of ethics and how that relates to our physical, numinal, or what have you. So it's not a religion class. So if we were to talk like that, it won't quite be correct.